and there's some evidence that they actually do disadvantage certain groups. So there's a lot to be discussed in terms of how we manage assessment in the future. I mean, when I've done exams, my preference has always been case exams and open book. So they get given a case study in advance of the exam. And some of the case studies that are in the case book, they first started as case exam case studies. So that's why they're quite kind of comprehensive in nature. They're given the case study, they're allowed to take notes in, it's open book from that point of view. And interestingly, that chimes with some of the professional assessments that they'll do later on, for example, Chartered Institute of Marketing or ACCA or CIPD, where it's less about your ability to remember, as you said, it's more about your ability to reason. And I think we should be moving in that direction as a higher education community. And I understand why people want to set closed book, time-constrained exams, because there's a fear that, and we know that plagiarism and academic misconduct have actually gone up during the pandemic for a whole variety of reasons. There's a fear that we're not going to have robust results from the assessment we do. But it's a question of, as you said, design, and we need to be much smarter about how we design assessments. You know, the closed book time constrained exam is something really that probably belongs in the 19th century. Or you know, the 20th century. We need to be much smarter in the way we use technology, the way that we use different assessment formats. And that's certainly something I'm involved with in Exeter. I'm part of a working group that's looking at assessment reimagined, is what we call it, and that's being led as a cross-university working group, looking at this and looking at how we take this forward. How do we design assessments which are robust from the point of view of not encouraging, or rather encouraging good academic conduct, but also are fit for purpose in our kind of 21st century connected Web 3.0 world. And I think that's a big challenge that we have to rise to. And in a way, the pandemic shook us into that, which is a good thing. So, you know, these things, as they call them, structural breaks, as we strategists refer to big changes in the macro environment. Structural breaks have threats, but they also contain lots of opportunities. And the pandemic has been an opportunity to rethink assessment and actually embrace some of the things which perhaps we saw as threats, the technology elements. Let's build them in. Let's try and make this into something which will function, is robust, because we need to produce graduate outcomes which employers and the other universities will trust. But at the same time, the world has moved on. You know, we're not sitting back in the sort of the 20th century anymore. We're in a new world, and we need to engage that. Otherwise, we risk being irrelevant.